How are you doing?
Oh, it could be a lot better.
I was gonna say, are you feeling?
Well, Saturday my son and I were fixing some rafters in the pole shed. When you're beating all that dust off.
Oh,
Then Sunday afternoon they were all getting ready to leave. Jan goes, "What's that junk downstairs?" Floor drain plugged up, and she ran the dishwasher 2 days in a row. And it flooded the utility room. So yeah, it was.
oh my.
So throw that on top of it
Oh, wow.
yesterday.
That's
So
not good. So is the issue just getting the monitors to work?
I guess so.
Could we grab a laptop and stick them up maybe?
Let me
Or-
ask Heidi if she's around.
Yeah, or, yeah, okay.
Every meeting, it always amazes me. It's like it's the first time you're doing it.
well, and the thing is, he was up. He was talking
He
before, and
was,
it
he was
wasn't even a
talking.
screen there. It
But,
was-
but Jeff, it happens to me too sometimes when I try to go on to an online meeting. All of a sudden, why isn't this working?
My
Well, when I
favorite
got
is
here this
when,
morning, there was no internet in the building.
oh, I was gonna say, my favorite is when Teams decides to do something. Like, oh, you need to entirely redo this whole thing. And it's like, I was just sending a Why don't we all, for those who are present and those, if our technology is actually working, join us in a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, let the record reflect that 4 of us are in person and Lee Lensmeyer is joining us remotely. Oh, and he is there. All right. Looks like we just have to get a couple things off of there. Wonderful. Thank you for your patience, Lee, and those who are streaming. It's good to have this back. Okay, agenda. Mike, I believe we have an item that's getting just moved to a different day.
Yeah, item, under Human Services, item I1, we can remove that from the agenda, from today's agenda.
For today's, yep, we'll be coming back and you'll be letting us know. Are there any other changes?
There are not.
Okay.
Not for me, anyway.
Then I am looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Bertram. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Notch. Seeing no further discussion or changes, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, consent agenda. Members, I didn't hear from anybody about any items you might want pulled. If there isn't something, I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Persky.
Second.
Ooh, we have Kissman second. All right, Commissioner Notch, not sure, I think you might have just barely beat out Commissioner Bertram. All in favor of approving the consent agenda items, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Okay, and just for the public, we, just like always reminding you that we do take due diligence with these. We all have questions. When we do, we ask them. Appreciate both our staff's work and the work of some of the committees that have worked on those items to bring it forward. All right, now we're going to move to item F, Auditor Treasurer. This is appointing 2 commissioners to the Stearns County Canvassing Board. Hello, Laura. Welcome.
Thank you. Yes, so our canvassing for...
Oh, just say your name.
Oh, I'm sorry.
For the record.
Backing up here. Laura Laudenbach, Director of Elections and Service Center. Thank you for having me, Chair and Commissioners. Today, we would like to appoint 2 commissioners to the Stearns County Canvassing Board for the general election, which is held on November 8th at 3 p.m. It's a Friday. It will be out at the Service Center in Waite Park. For this agenda item, you cannot be on the ballot. So we have 2 commissioners that are currently on the ballot, which leaves 3 other commissioners.
I think this is likely you and me if your schedule's available. Mine
I
is
haven't done it
available
yet,
too.
so I look forward to it. You bet.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Is that good?
And if you are not able to make it, you can appoint somebody in your place. They just have to be a registered voter of Stearns County.
And do you need us to have a motion for that?
I believe so, yes.
That's what I thought. Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Persky.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Notch. All right, seeing no discussion on this item, all in favor of appointing Commissioner Bertram and myself to the Stearns County Canvassing Board for the general election signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. I could see you saying aye, Lee. I didn't hear you, though. We should probably test it. Okay, well, there's,
Can we get a thumbs up on
yeah,
that?
that's what I was just going to ask him, but now. All right, wait, don't go away, please. Wait, hold on one second. Lee, can you go ahead and give us a thumbs up if you're saying aye? All right, that works. And Laura, just real quickly, could you just give us a very quick update on how early voting and absentee voting is going?
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner.
I'm sorry, I
so
hope that was okay. Just real quick.
We're in full swing of things. The early voting or absentee voting is happening at both the Service Center in Waite Park and also at the Lake George Municipal Complex in St. Cloud. Both locations have all of the ballots for Stearns County. The St. Cloud location only has the Stearns County ballots and not the St. Cloud, Sherburne, or Benton County resident ballots, just so that people are aware of that. We will start direct voting on Friday, which is exciting. Instead of the envelope process, we will have the voter put their absentee ballot directly into a machine versus the signature envelope and the secrecy envelope. So that starts Friday. And then starting on October 29th, we'll have additional locations throughout Stearns County that will offer the direct voting, such as Melrose City will have ballots for all of Stearns County, and that's the Tuesday before the election until the Monday before the election. They will be open most of those days except for the Sunday before. Today we're doing our public accuracy test, which is
Great.
Already started at 8 o'clock this morning out at the service center, and it's pretty exciting to see. For the preliminary testing, we pushed about 9,000 ballots through the machines and with zero error, and that's our goal today is another approximately 2,000 ballots to the machine with zero error. So,
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah. Well, thank you, and hopefully, I got a chance to go vote absentee early in person. I will say the direct voting seems like it will be a lot less work for the staff and a lot less things for people to either remember or have on them, but it sure is a great opportunity, so thank you.
Quick
Commissioner
question.
Persky?
Laura, say with the early voting and with the townships that are mail-in only, can those townships vote early too, or do they have to?
yes.
They can.
Yep, they can vote either at the 3 locations basically countywide. So either Service Center or Lake George now, and then starting 7 days before the election, they can vote early or in person at the Melrose location as well. Election day, though, the only place, their polling place on election day to vote in person is the Service Center in Waite Park.
Okay.
So,
And obviously not send in that mail-in.
yes, well, if, we will see it on the record if they have a ballot voted already. And then election day, 7 a.m. till 8 p.m., we're open at the service center there for those precincts if they choose to vote in person for election day.
Okay, great.
Well, Madam Chair, all what I can say is if somebody doesn't vote, it's not because we haven't made it available.
Exactly. We're
Yes.
tried many different ways, and please say thank you again to your staff for us, because we know it's a lot of work. It's also super important, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
I would say good luck with the test, but we do believe it will go well, so thank you. All right, next item. Brenda, do you want to come on up?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Brenda Tice, Assistant Stearns County Attorney, and I'm here asking for permission or authority to send a letter providing guidance to the cities and towns in Stearns County about the expectations the county has with regard to the cannabis ordinance and the requirements for the cities and towns, or expectations at least, something telling them what we are expecting to happen here with our ordinance. And I just wanted to go through a few things. We are going to be back before the board on November 5th with our county ordinance to be looked through, and hopefully we can get on with our public hearing that we're currently looking at November 19th to do. This is with regard to the retail business registration and compliance checks. And before these cannabis businesses can sell anything, they need to be registered. And the local government unit doing the registration also has to conduct the compliance checks on at least a yearly basis. And the cities or towns do have the authority under the statute to consent to the counties doing the registration and the compliance checks for them. The issue here is that I've been contacted by a couple of the cities they're concerned with their dates and abilities to have to establish their own ordinances, have their public hearings, and get those things in order, given our schedule. And so they've asked me what the county expectations are for them. And I put together a proposed notice to them which is attached to the agenda item. It includes my understanding from prior hearings we've had at least one prior hearing where we discussed the resources the county has and their ability to handle the registration for all these cities. Most of these cities have their own law enforcement staff, and there are enough staff that could do the registration process. The question then became, what about the cities and the towns in Stearns County that do not have their own law enforcement? And the sheriff has been doing compliance checks for them in Stearns County with regard to the alcoholic beverage ordinance. And so the recommendation that I put together in that notice is that the county would handle the registration and the compliance checks for them. Now, that proposed notice is just based on my understanding of what we've talked about so far. I'm here to see if that is currently still the position of the county, and whether or not that notice is proper to send out to the cities.
Dr. Williams?
I'm not seeing that
Yeah.
in your
Attachment.
packet, are you?
No.
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 That's why I was looking at you with kind of a
Yeah.
puzzled face.
I'm trying to find it here so I could at least put it on the screen. My computer's not. Do you have copies of it by any chance?
Yep. Yep.
No, I don't know why.
Madam Chair, while we're waiting for that, Brenda, question then, because we'll then be handling the compliance checks and the licensure, what would we be issuing the license, and then also what about a licensing fee? Have we established that?
That's established by by the statute, how much it will be, at least for the first year and the first 3 years, because the first year will include the second year as well, and then the third year will just be the annual one, the regular annual one. So the fees are, I think, $500 for registration. I don't have it handy here, but it'll be a $1,500 registration the first year because it's.
And Joe, can you hold just for a second? Because that's a really good question. I just wanted, because I was a little confused. It sounds like we have 3 things we're doing today. One is going through some questions like what Joe has had, or you might have more information about what you've been hearing so far, because on here we have discussing the proposed ordinance, we have the notice, and then we also have setting a public hearing. Are those the 3 things? And it sounds like you wanted to start with this.
I believe the public hearing date was set at the last meeting, the proposed.
I thought we did, it just says a future discussion and public hearing dates, so maybe we're just reminding people of it. It's
Yes.
just there wasn't much in here, so, and that's okay. You're doing a lot of other things. I'm just trying to make sure that from a facilitation standpoint, we're getting what you need from us, right? So you're looking for approval for sending this, and then can you tell us a little bit more about what your intent would be once it gets to them? Is there some informal ways they're giving? We talked about a letter going to them, getting some more information so we can get feedback from them. Where are we at with that?
Well, I don't have any anything other than those
Okay.
contacts with the 2 cities, and I spoke with them about what the current
No, that's
meeting
great.
was
So
about.
perhaps just a little bit of an update from one or both of you would help us, and then you'd like us to approve this, right? And then what else would you like us to do today?
Madam Chair, we did, after that previous meeting, send to towns and cities kind of an update. Angie did that.
Yes,
And
yeah.
And so that has been done. I think this is more specific so that the cities have a good idea of what we're thinking before we get to that public hearing. And Brenda really wanted to make sure that kind of the board's okay with how we're steering this right now.
And so if we approve this, this will get out pretty quickly so that there's still time.
That's my hope, is that we can get something out to them early on.
Okay.
One of the things that I do think we might want to add to that notice after speaking with Mr. Williams here about the numbers, whether or not, I mean, the concern is if each of the cities has their own limitation, the counties, my understanding is considering limiting it to the minimum for our population, which would be 13 retail establishments. And if each city has one, if they each do their own ordinance and say no more than one, we're going to have a possibility of way more than that. If you think about it, it gets concerning, right? Now, how is the county's ordinance going to play into those other ordinances? The AMC has set out some scenarios about how that's going to work, and they have basically said that if the city has its own ordinance, and if the county's number is met, that city, even though it has a large population and could handle more than one, and has an expectation to handle more than one, if all of the expectations for the county are met, that city has the right to decline based on the county's limitation. Having another business established there, even though their own ordinance allows them to have another one.
So Brenda, just, so you're asking us to change, so would that be adding some clarification? Because it sounds
Right.
like it goes both ways. If our minimum is met, they could decline.
Right.
But if they want to, they could have more by
Exactly.
their own ordinance. So are you suggesting putting some language in here?
Yes, I'd like to suggest that we would, in this letter, request that they include language, just so it's clear to the applicants and to the state that their ordinance would allow up to the certain, whatever number that they intend to for the retail locations, subject to the limitation on the total of retail locations in the county ordinance, as set out in the county ordinance.
Just real quick, just so we have, so do you have some suggested language to add? Should we, or do you, are you basically just saying, okay, can I add this in? I've described it to you.
That is what I'm
right,
asking.
okay, all
And
right.
that is how I would
That's fine.
specify it.
I'm
based-
personally okay with that. Joe, did you have a question? And then Steve, I see you've got.
Yes, Brenda, I understood that if they have one and then they're requesting a second, they can limit that. However, can we limit them not, if we've met the minimum standard through the county and the city does not have one, can we limit them, or can the city then deny even having one, or must they allow one?
Ms. Tyson?
Well, they can deny if they're following our ordinance. They have the right to specify how many that they'll allow in their jurisdiction. The county, unless they consent to us handling their jurisdiction, would not be able to limit them.
I
Right.
didn't quite understand that. Then.
Right.
So if we've met the minimum through
Yes.
through the county,
Right.
can they deny and say zero as
Yes.
far? No, they can't.
So like if
Yes.
Sartell had 13, which I know it's not, so I'm being ludicrous, but if Sartell had 13 and our magic number is 13, then everybody else could deny all of them. But obviously Sartell is not going to have that.
I do have a copy of the scenario that's one of the scenarios that AMC has provided.
That would be great to see. And are you looking at sending that to folks so that they would have it? It almost seems like a chart or something might be useful for people so they know, they can see it, what it means.
Would you like a copy now? I do have a copy now. I don't know if you're,
Would you like it now or no?
I think it's
Wait,
been
sure.
well.
Some point, as long as you have it, sure.
Since you've got it, Steve. did
Oh,
you-
I was just gonna make a suggestion, once she gets the, what she's sending out townships and cities, just include us on an email copy.
Absolutely. Then
we
we'll
know.
all have seen the final language, and if we get asked questions, we'll
And-
have a clue about how to answer them.
And really, this is an attempt to, I mean, you still haven't passed this ordinance, but it's an attempt to tell the cities, this is what we're thinking.
Right.
And,
Okay.
you know, we might get comments back at the public hearing about that. So it's not necessarily exactly what we're going to do, but I think that's where we've heard the board and others want this to go.
Right. Commissioner Bertram.
Madam Chair, but everything I'm hearing is everybody's confused on this. I mean, we're confused on this. We were at the district AMC meeting yesterday. So there's an awful, and I think we really should encourage, I heard you say the county wants the minimum. I don't know if I agree with that, and I've been very vocal about, I'm not nuts about this. We have to do it.
Right.
But I think we should control it to the best of our ability. And I think we really need to empower, and thank you for doing that, the cities and the townships. This is beyond them, and we really got to be a partner with them. And I think we need to really strongly, at least I'm going to encourage them to say, take our lead. You know, let's do this in unison, because what will happen is, in my opinion, is folks that have less than admirable goals are going to try to pick this apart and go to where they can quickly or easily go. And again, this is a much bigger philosophical issue in my mind but let's do the minimum. Let's work with our local units. Now, this is timely. Tonight, we have the Stearns County cities, and Mike said he's coming. Could you give him, or at least us, I think you're going, I don't know who's all going, but give us what you're going to be sending them, because Mike can share that tonight then on behalf of the board if he wants to them. And then we're meeting with the township officers board right after this meeting. Can we share something with them? Can you stick around for that? And then the township annual meeting is coming up in November, and I assume you or someone's going to make that, because I'm telling you, nobody knows what's going on.
Right.
And they really need strong direction.
And I think part of, once we have our ordinance, I mean, I think I've been pretty clear. I think we probably all share certain sentiments with this. So there's the pieces about, we're doing this reluctantly because we've been voluntold and because people want it. Whether or not anybody's sitting up here that wants it, that's a different thing. And yet, a lot of this is pretty straightforward business licensing. And so we also have to remember that some of this isn't so different. Part of what, I don't think this has to be all that confusing. We just have to let people know we're going to start with the minimum. If a city has an ordinance and they've decided they would do a minimum of one, and we've hit our magic number, they don't have to do the agreement. Now, I have to admit, if I was a constituent there, I might be wondering why they're changing it if they said they wanted to have one. So they've got to figure out whether, it's really more of a, we'll reluctantly take one or not, or if they want more. And one of the questions I had asked was just for the map. I know that there's an online version, but, how many places are currently doing the THC? Where are they? Do we have anybody doing off sale? I mean, so, because we just don't know. I mean, as you pointed out, it could be a lot of entities, mostly in incorporated areas. So I very much agree with what Commissioner Bertram just said about the ways that we get the information out. And I think you're trying to do it. Just give them a pretty simple example so they understand it, and then we can help with getting that back out. Joe, and then back to Jeff.
Okay.
Sorry.
Commissioner Bertram, I got a little bit concerned, though, as far as limiting the number in the county if we're looking at fair business practice, because also there would be a way that we could manipulate the situation, monopolize to your benefit considerably. Say that El Rosa would have 13 licenses. That would mean the rest of the county would not be able to have any. So the people in St. Cloud, if that's a scenario that we heard earlier, that is, once the city, we've reached 13 within the county, that we can limit that. So obviously there would be, financial advantage by placing these, and also by certain individuals to make a considerable amount of money. So we've got to be cognizant of, I think, of fair business practice.
I think in that scenario, your concern would come in if some of the other communities all just said no. like we only want them in El Rosa, because they could still say yes under
Yes.
their own ordinance.
Yes.
Sartell could have that magical 13 as well. El Rosa and Sartell.
But I thought the question I asked earlier is just that once we reach the 13 across the entire county,
They can say no then. A community
They
can
have
say
the
no. But they could have more. So, but your question about fairness could
county-
potentially still be there. What it really is we have we've got a minimum that we have got to be saying yes to. That
Right.
doesn't mean throughout the county, and it could all get there through the El Rosas, Sartells, Wade Parks, Melroses, St. Clouds of the world. It very well is likely going to be more. Your question and concern, I think, understandably comes in if all of a sudden everybody says no because El Rosa's taken them all.
yeah, so the question, back
It's
to
a
the
floor,
original
not a
question.
ceiling.
Once we hit the 13, the county can say we have enough within
No.
the county.
No, well, each jurisdiction has the right to say we would like how many they want in their jurisdiction. But if they've agreed to, consented for the county to handle it, the county will follow its stat or ordinance. And if they decide that they don't want to follow the county's ordinance and they want to step out of that, they can do that. The plan is to have an agreement with these local entities, the local towns, that would allow them to write their own ordinance if they wanted to down the road. And like you were saying, this is our first stab at this ordinance. And the law is going to change. We totally expect some changes as time goes on. And also expect to see some decisions made by the agency with regard to interpreting the statute. And when that happens, there'll be changes made to all of the county's ordinances as they go to address those determinations by the agency.
And as you can see, we have lots of questions. So we had Commissioner Notch and Commissioner Bertram.
I have
And
two
then we've got-
questions, Madam
Wait,
Chair.
wait, you-
Yep, I just have two.
Okay, only two?
Yep,
I'm just kidding.
Nope, two questions.
Two questions, good. Go
Well,
ahead.
first, I think we have to also realize if they're probably not going to be in one location because they're all in it for making money.
Absolutely.
So if you put 13 in El Rosa, somebody's probably going to go out of business, I
Right.
would think. And then just for clarification, going back to Commissioner Persky earlier, so if the city or township says we're going to follow the county's ordinance, and the county says, okay, we have one license open, and somebody in that city comes and applies, that city could still end up getting a shop because they don't have either a limitation or no, will be none in our jurisdiction.
Right. If our ordinance says 13 and we only have 12, and it applies to a location that doesn't have an ordinance and has not consented to the county handling it for them, the county would be obligated to approve it for that location.
Right. Okay, Commissioner Bertram.
And fill in the blank, Madam Chair, what the law says you have to have the availability of how many, the population, what's the population?
12,500
So 12,500, you have to make it available up to 13.
right.
Yep, and El Rosa's in Commissioner's Notch's district, but I know El Rosa well, they have bologna days, they don't have pot days, Joe, so you don't have to
not
worry.
yet.
They're not gonna have 13, I can guarantee you that. They have bologna though, but,
You might see 13 in St. Cloud,
right.
right?
That's
So-
why I'm always picking a different community because people are assuming that's where they'll go. And I
Yeah.
think there'll be ones in other places.
And then the last question, Madam Chair, is have we decided if it's gonna be a IUP or a CUP? Interim use permit or a conditional use permit?
That is Angie's area.
Okay.
I don't know
Okay,
what.
so when we
Because
come back.
yesterday at
yep.
the district meeting, the one county.
There was one, yep.
And they made a very good point that an interim use permit, for those people that don't understand that, is given to the applicant, doesn't stay with the land. To me, that makes sense, but we'll get to that.
Right, we'll
But
get-
let's
yes.
have that conversation,
Yes,
because
absolutely.
I don't want to, I wrote that down. Whenever I want to remember something, I need to write it down. And I wrote it down yesterday because that's a very good point. Knowing what I know, and just, again, now's a little bit of time to talk about it. The interim use permit then would give it to the applicant, and then when the applicant would stop doing it, it doesn't stay there, which I think would be the way to go, because if you give it to the property, God knows who's gonna come in and out. Someone may come in and have the right to do it if it's a conditional use permit, and we may not, there might be questionable ethics with that person or something. So anyway, when we get to that point, let's make sure we have that discussion.
And given how many categories, I wrote that down too. Given how many categories.
It's amazing how
some-
much we think alike.
It is.
It really is.
It is. It
It's kinda
surprises you
scary.
almost every
Yeah,
day.
it's so scary.
Yeah. A couple things in my head was it may be different if we're talking about a cultivator versus I can't believe I'm going to say it this way, but a retailer, right? I mean, right now we have places that are selling tobacco or they're selling alcohol, et cetera. I would hope what's coming to us treats some of that similarly, and I'm not sure exactly what that looks like. So as we go through those 9 categories, it would be helpful knowing which things we need, how much of it's about the land versus something else, right? And then how are we treating somewhat similarly situated businesses?
Right. The state actually issues the licenses to the individual's businesses, the applicants, and they have to meet the requirements for that license.
So you'll help us remember that, because clearly we didn't write that part down.
Okay, so initially, the state will license these businesses, and each of the applications, like for the retail businesses, will come to the county to look at. And we look at them then based on the location for the zoning and the fire code and the building code, if that they apply. And then if they pass everything, then we do the registration, and we can do, that's usually done at a point when they are ready to open, but before they can do sales. Then you go back in there and look to see what, if they've met your ordinance for what you require for operations in your local ordinance and by state. The state will also be looking at that. And then if that happens, then they get a registration if they pass everything. But the license itself goes to the person. It's not transferable to another person if they come into that location. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So they have to each have a license, and they each have to go through that process and meet the requirements of the state and then the local governmental unit as well.
Do we have a place on our website where people can see the proposed? Because you all put together a really helpful, almost cheat sheet about all those different categories and what you're recommending so that people are giving feedback. Do we have a place on there on the website right now?
For the local ordinance, we didn't get
for what we're going to be bringing back and having the public hearing for, and those materials you had with it, because you had sometimes the language can be hard for many people without a cheat sheet, and you'd had a really great spreadsheet that helped with understanding.
Okay, the spreadsheet were the ones from Angie, is that what, I'm just
so.
not clear.
From your last presentation. I'm just wondering, do we have a place? If we don't, can we make a place on our website that's easy for people to get to, just so that as they're looking at this, they can be, including folks that you'll be talking to, can go back on and find it easily?
Yes, we can put that on the website, right? Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then you'll have something, Madam Chair,
For
for
tonight.
tonight, and then for the meeting right after this, or if you can stay, I don't know how you want to do that, Mike, but
Yeah, yes, both staff from Environmental Services and Brenda are planning to attend the township meeting.
Great.
and then tonight we'll have something.
So can we, so it
Oh,
looks
tonight,
like we
yeah.
need a motion to be sending the notice.
notice-
With the modifications that you were suggesting.
Yeah, and the modification again is that if they are setting a limit on the number in their ordinance, that they include a statement that says that they're allowing a certain amount. We are allowing up to so many retail locations. subject to the limitations on the total number of retail locations in the county's ordinance.
So move, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Bertram. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Notch. See no further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oh, can't hear you. Can you do your thumb up? They'll keep working on it. All right. You can hear us though, right? Okay, good. Okay, thank you. All right, any opposed? Same sign? All right, it's,
All right,
And then
thank you.
please
Thank
send
you.
us, Madam Chair,
Yes.
copy us
yep,
on what you send them,
Yes,
then we know.
right. It always helps us to make sure we're being more consistent or that we at least know what they've got, right?
all right, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. And thank you for taking our questions and helping us understand. You might get to do this one more time with us, right? Excellent.
Good
All
morning,
right.
Madam Chair. Shelley Benton, Environmental Services Director. Just a quick second, I sent a message to Angie. Yes, we have it on the website. It's already there.
And where would somebody find it?
At the Stearns County website, if you type in cannabis, it'll pop you to the page.
Right, so if you do a search on the website, you'll,
It'll go right there.
Great.
So
That's good.
Angie's got that information up and running.
okay, wonderful.
So we have 3 items today. Becky Schlorf will handle the first 2 items, and I will handle the last item.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Becky Schlorf, Ag and Water Resources Division Supervisor. So the first item is our, for your consideration, is a memorandum of agreement. This is for the planning effort, our last watershed planning effort that is now beginning for the Mississippi Sartell watershed. So the local partners, which include the county governments and the soil and water conservation districts, as well as the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe, are involved in this. Our Stearns County SWCD is the administrator of this, and they did apply for funding from the Board of Water and Soil Resources and were granted the funding to do the planning. And the Morrison County SWCD is the fiscal agent on this. All of the partners, county attorneys that were interested did meet and did draft this memorandum of agreement. And so our Stearns County Attorney's Office has reviewed and approved it. So I can take any questions that you might have.
Any questions, members?
Madam Chair, Becky sent me some, as the newbie, some additional information, which I appreciated, because, yeah, I still don't understand the depth of this, and I know this is the way this is all going, but I said I can't imagine anything being accomplished because it's so bureaucratic and the agreements and everything, but obviously, it's worth a shot.
It is, and certainly I think Commissioner Notch could at least remind us that there is light at the end of this tunnel and that eventually it ends up being a better way of doing it, theoretically.
Well, Madam Chair, the biggest thing is the base funding. Once you establish these one watershed, one plans, there's no competitive grants for the base funding. Everybody's allocated base funding, so everybody should be able to do some projects right away. Correct, Becky?
Yeah,
Ms. Schlorf?
we have the Sauk River Watershed District, or Watershed Collaborative that we're a part of and takes up a large portion of our county right now. We're also the fiscal agent for that. I can't remember, we're in maybe the 4th year or 3rd year, and we have 2 grants, and that's over $3 million.
That's great.
That's going on the ground with all the partners in the watershed.
In the Mississippi River St. Cloud, we're getting close. I mean, it's, you know, it's like any other joint powers where people are forming it. I mean, it just takes a while. And I, in particular, am just amazed at the work and collaborative efforts between staff of our different entities, as well as the community members who are participating, and so look forward when we're past the planning part and we have a plan approved, because there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work to do, and yeah. So what do you need us to do? We are needing to go ahead and.
Madam Chair, I'll
this,
approve
right?
the memorandum of agreement.
It's great, great, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Persky. Seeing no further discussion or questions at this time, there will be lots of time as we go down this journey. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, great. Thank you, Lee. Appreciate that. All right, all commissioners have said yes. Now we're on to the appointment of from the board for the policy committee, and not to like jumpstart this too much, but I believe, Joe, you've been waiting to be doing this.
Yeah.
Unless somebody else wants to jump in.
I just want to, just want to respond, Commissioner Bertram, yeah, it's been a long process putting these together. However, if we take a look at the way that we were doing it, when you take a look at a watershed does not care politically who it belongs to. The water's going to run downhill for the most part. And the more we can work together to keep that water clean and keep those areas, working cooperatively to protect that watershed, the better off we are. When it goes across counties and townships and even across a different state, the regulation sometimes would get in the way, or just the politics would get in the way of doing the right thing. So it's been a long process, but hopefully maybe the water's going to make us communicate a little better amongst each other and work cooperatively to do what's right. So yeah, I'm looking forward to being part of this as well, even if it's a chaotic mix.
Madam Chair, I'll move,
Just,
Okay, good.
go ahead.
Go ahead and make the motion.
I'll
Thank
move
you.
Joe for the appointment.
Great,
And I'll second that with
Great.
a comment.
great. Go ahead.
So just to be transparent, back in 2018, when the Sauk River Watershed, One Plan was starting, I think they had a grant for $176,000 to get this set up. And I said, why don't you just give the money to the watershed so they can start doing stuff right away instead of recreating the wheel? But now after it's all done, you look and you go, oh, okay, I guess it was premature of me to think that way now that, the base funding is there and you see the dollars that they don't have to compete anymore with other watersheds to get. So in the end, it did, I think, turn out to be a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. Let's go ahead and vote on this, and then I actually had one comment too. So we have a motion and a second for Commissioner Persky. We do need an alternate.
Madam Chair, would you do it?
Who's the abutting watershed?
Yeah, well, I've got, believe it or not, I actually, in my fairly dense district, I have 2 of the 3 that we currently have and a tiny bit of this one. I suppose that would make sense.
Okay.
You may
I'll-
get to be the alternate for a different one at some point.
I'm afraid of it, to be honest with you. I'm an alternate of one, that's enough.
Well, that sounds
So
good.
should I include
Yes,
that
why
in
don't
the
you
motion?
modify your
I'll
motion?
modify the motion to appoint Joe as the delegate and you as an alternate.
Yes, and with the understanding that Joe is never going to miss any meeting.
I'll concur with that with my second, so.
And Madam Chair, unlike Commissioner Notch, I still haven't seen the wisdom of sending the money up and then having it come down yet. So with everything we do, it just drives me nuts. The
Yeah.
grants and the
Right.
the joint memorandum of understandings and all that stuff. But again,
Yes.
it is what it is for right now.
Yes, well, and I'll still make a comment after we vote. So now that we have a motion and a second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thumbs up, good. All right, opposed, same sign. Okay, so I will say part of what the nerd in me that gets excited was seeing the different mappings and all the data coming together in a way that helps people like us really be able to see and understand and then come to agreement about, yeah, these are the places, and these are the places that will make a difference for our residences and their businesses. And so ironically, when they shifted to this, the money is starting here. And thank God it's not quite like some of the other ones where it's like this. Yeah. Once we have this plan, we're going to be able to really start making some progress. And thankfully, we have an opportunity to change it if we need to. And very thankful for our soil and water conservation partners that are a part of this, right? Because we have their expertise as well and their relationships. So it's very great, even if a little confusing. All right, thank you. All right, third item.
Madam Chair, third item in front of you today is a fee waiver request submitted by Gary and Linda Kramers. I will just tell you, I misspelled their name. It's Kremers. The fee waiver process is one, and it is in the policy is in your packet. But the policy essentially says, if we have made an error or aggrieved that party in some way related to an application, if we've created an error, then we waive the fee. And typically within environmental services, I have that discretion to do so. And I utilize that discretion when either we've made an error or we've had some encumbrance that's very complicated. So there are times when I have waived fees, and that will be my discretion as a department director. In the case in front of you, the Kramers are requesting an appeal of an administrative decision. That follows the same line as a variance request. So in this particular case, the fee on our fee schedule is $850, which is a subsidized fee that you as board have imposed for an appeal of a decision. And in statute, the decisions that our department makes are appealable. So we make a decision and they're appealing that decision. They have made argument, and that's the reasoning that they have provided in the application. But as a fee waiver, I have reviewed the application that they made with them, so this isn't new information for them either. My recommendation is to not approve the fee waiver because we haven't erred in the department in our decision-making process. We made it, and if they want to appeal, then they come in front of the Board of Adjustment, and then the Board of Adjustment would make that decision if the Board of Adjustment believes we have erred. So that's the process. We have to charge the fee because that's the process that we have. Again, a lot of process, a lot of back and forth. But in this particular case, we charge, just like a variance application, an appeal application fee. In this case, it's $850.
So the process, I think I'm hearing you say, and I did get a chance to talk to Shelley beforehand, is that somebody would appeal this and it would go to the Board of Adjustment as opposed to coming to the board to waive the fee.
Right.
But they're coming to us, instead of going through the Board of Adjustment, they're coming here hoping that we would waive the fee. Is that accurate?
Okay. So they waive they're asking that you waive the fee as a board so they can get to the Board of Adjustment.
Okay.
Does
So
that
we
make
have,
sense?
in general, we have a fee to go to the Board of Adjustment.
Yeah,
What
whether
is
it
the,
be a
what is the
variance-
county cost for when somebody goes to the Board of Adjustment? Is the
It's over
fee covered?
$3,000 per actual
Okay.
application.
Right.
The fee that you, as a board, have decided in the fee schedule is $850 in Shoreland. So whether it be a variance application or an appeal, that is $850 to go in front of, to be able to go in front of the Board of Adjustment. Then the Board of Adjustment will look at all their reasoning and decide if the department erred in that process. And then if we feel that we made an error, that by the Board of Adjustment standard, then we can adjust our practices as if we feel that's necessary. But we haven't erred in the process of getting this so far.
Okay. Okay. So I know the Kramers are here. If you'd like to come speak for a couple of moments, since you came all the way in. I think you understand what Ms. Benson's saying is that our process and procedure is if somebody wants to appeal it, they pay that fee. And help us understand what you're asking us today.
Sure.
Thank you.
What we're.
Oh, and I'm sorry, please say
Oh,
your names and your
name
address for the record.
Is Gary
And
Linda Kramers, 26722 Teresia Terrace Road. The reason we're asking for the waiver is because we feel that an error was committed when the shed that is in question that's on the property, it has been on the property since the 1960s. However, in about 2020 was 90% rebuilt and moved back on the property about 10 feet and actually right on the property line. Actually, the roof line is probably over the property line. And when someone from Environmental Services came out to review it, they looked at their 1972 photos. Oh yeah, there's a shed on the line. But they didn't look at later aerial photos to show that it actually was moved. So that's the reason why we don't feel we should pay to appeal that when we both don't feel that due diligence was done in the investigation of that. So that's where we're at with it.
We did send a letter to Mr. Bertram, so I'm sure and it was clearly stated in each of our letters that this shed had been moved and back and also moved onto our property. So it was clearly stated. And so when we did go in front of the commission, the other board, they didn't even talk about the shed. They said, oh, that's grandfathered in. We were not informed that it was grandfathered in or anything. I mean, we were blindsided at that meeting. Nobody got back to us and said, yeah, that shed's been grandfathered in. But the one problem was nobody made a comparison. We asked at least 3 or 4 times, what grounds are you basing this on? And we wouldn't get answers. We had to keep asking again. But and it's on your own webpage, your aerial views. It's on your own page. So to me, that is an error on your part. Or their part, yeah.
Which according to the appeal process, that the waiver of the fee can be waived if an error was and that's why we're appealing it. The other part, why is this important now? You can say, oh, well, it was moved back. It was on the line anyway. Well, shortly after we moved into our property and we built up to the elevation per Stearns County, what they say, above the ordinary high level water mark. And of course, we're 2 or 3 feet higher than the neighboring property. Well, I have gutters, drainage that I'm draining off any rainwater. And the neighboring property, they sent a letter to me threatening civil action unless I did something about the drainage. And the main reason was it was going to rot out the shed that was right on the line and right where my gutters were. If the shed was in its original location, this would be a non-issue. So,
and the setback laws for the shed is 10 feet.
10 feet.
And it's like on our property. So I can't imagine anybody here wanting to set their neighbor's shed on your property. And that is a big cause of the water, big cause of the water drainage not going there properly. It just speaks to his character of other things that he has done illegally. And we don't feel we should pay for somebody else's illegal actions. It's frustrating for us.
Thank you. Really appreciate you coming. Does any members have any questions for them right now? And Shelley, I'm also wondering if there's other information that you want to give us. Wait, really quickly,
Yeah, go
anything
ahead.
for them? Otherwise, you could go ahead and sit down if there
Okay,
may be
thank you.
something else, but go ahead. And thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
No, I was just gonna ask, wouldn't that be more of a civil issue if it's on their property?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Benson.
Commissioner Notch, and yeah, water and drainage are typically civil matters between property owners. We as a department have addressed the original concerns related to the neighboring property, and that's why that neighboring property went to the Board of Adjustment. These neighbors came in, gave testimony, but some of the actions were that the shed is considered a legal non-conforming structure, and we addressed that legal nonconforming structure. It didn't go in front of the Board of Adjustment, so that's the piece that they were unsure of why it wasn't in front of the Board of Adjustment. So that was a separate matter, and that's the appeal piece that they are looking to appeal the decision of how we came to that legal nonconforming status related to that structure. So that's kind of what's happened here. We have been working on multiple things on the neighboring property to get it into conformance. I will have to say, Gary and Linda have worked very hard to make sure their property has been in compliance and they have gotten all their permits, and we greatly appreciate that. They have always followed the rules and the process, and we appreciate that. So from the department standpoint, they're not out of compliance or have any issues on their property. This is related to an adjacent property. So, Commissioner Bertram?
Madam Chair, and with that point, I learned a long time ago that you said a lot of things by splitting the difference or just moving on. I don't think there's a lot of confusion. I have not interacted with the Kramers since August of 2023, to my knowledge. But if we can get this in the right form, which is a Board of Adjustment, and we can help jumpstart that, I think it would be in order for us to waive the fee, get it in front of the Board of Adjustment, then work this through there. We waive and do a lot of different things. Again, that's not saying staff did anything wrong or anything else, but I have not, like I said, I haven't interacted with the Kramers, but I read everything, hear what they say, hear what you say. Let's get it in front of the right body and then have that decision made personally is my thought. And so I'll make that motion that we waive the fee and get it in front of the and then have that process work itself through. Again, with the understanding, no one, there's confusion. I don't think anybody intentionally did anything wrong or anything else, but there obviously is some confusion, so.
Right.
That's my
And
motion.
it would be unusual. We don't do that. We
Right.
don't waive it very often. So I just
Right.
want to make sure
Yep,
that
I get
that
that.
you also know that as we're moving forward. Is there a second? Or further discussion?
Well, Madam Chair, I would just say if staff has reviewed everything, I pulled up the address on Google Maps. It looks like the properties are all pretty tightly built on their lots there. So it doesn't look like there's much room for landscaping and stuff like that. I would have to concur with staff's recommendation if everything was followed. And if there's some, personal issues going on, that's beyond our control, I feel.
Okay. I am not hearing a second on the motion, which means then we need a motion to deny.
The other part of that too is, if the county staff did what they followed everything they did, to waive the whole thing wouldn't seem appropriate then either, because then, staff can say, well, then why are we spending the time to go through everything to state we followed everything?
And Madam Chair, my only reaction to that would be, again, I'd rather than us get into the weeds on the issue, I'd like to get it in front of the board that can deal with it. And again, just facilitate that. But again, I guess I made the motion, and if there's not going to be a second, then we can't have really a discussion. There's no point to it. But again, we've done a lot of things that aren't, the reason we're here, it's not black and white. If it was black and white, it wouldn't be before us. So yeah, we may not do it often, but again, that's why the appeal process is there. And so I made my point. I think it would be fair, but it's up to the board.
Okay, Commissioner Persky?
Madam Chair, Shelley, but it can go to the Board of Adjustment without waiving this fee, can it not?
Yes, the only way to go to Board of Adjustment is either pay the fee or you provide a fee waiver to go in front of the Board of Adjustment. Because I have to do the process of notifying the neighbors, putting it in the newspaper, and doing all of the things we do for that process, whether it be a variance or a fee waiver, or, excuse me, a administrative review, all of that has to go through the same process, the same costs are associated with an appeal of a decision.
And Madam Chair, if
Commissioner Notch.
Shelley would normally have the ability to do that, but felt in this case that wasn't appropriate, I would almost think that we should follow that recommendation. Because otherwise, if she felt it was on staff, she could have waived that fee.
Madam Chair, I don't
Commissioner
need to know
Bertram.
that today, but I'd be curious how many times you have waived fees, that we're not aware of in the last year.
I can look into that and
Yeah,
get you
I'm
an
just
answer.
curious.
Sure.
And then on the other point is the subsidization of the fees. Having sat on the Planning Commission for 16 years, we went through 3 years of permitting for Geronimo Wind Energy and all those hearings and all that process and everything else. And again, if the fee was whatever they were, it was less than $850 back in those days, and the cost was still $3,000. We subsidized all of those, and we ended up not building one of the 5 proposed wind energy. So we do that all the time. Solar, the applications for solar is certainly subsidized, and so we do that all the time. What it actually costs for us to go through those processes are much higher than the fees we charge. So, and again, it's neither here nor there, other than making a point, we do it every day. For a lot bigger people than the Kramers, so.
I'll move the recommended action, also understanding it's always hard when it's, someone in your district to go along with staff recommendation, but, Shelley would have had the opportunity to waive that. I think she would have did it if it was appropriate.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion, but I want to tell the Kramers I appreciate them doing their diligence, first of all, for coming in, and then also being good stewards as by doing the right thing when they built their property up, because those were the ordinances that we have, and oftentimes, unfortunately, people do things outside those ordinances, and then we have to make up for their mistakes, and that's not a good thing. So I appreciate your efforts.
Madam Chair, with that second, if I could, I would just say, Commissioner Notch, I don't care what district they'd be in, I'd still say the same thing, because, again, I'm sensitive to how we treat our people, and especially if they, are complying. So it's not that they're my district. I can honestly say I don't know them. And until I got their letter on the August 2023, that's the only interaction I've had with them. So if they'd be in any district, I'd be saying the same thing that I'm saying, but I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I will say, from my standpoint, there's a part of me that wants to just say yes, right? The challenge is that for every time we waive these, that means others are helping pay with the cost, because that's
right.
the rest of them goes elsewhere. So we just have to remember that. Lee, I can hear you now. Did you want to say something?
Call the question. The horse is
All right, well, okay, I think we could do that. I do want to thank you, I so appreciate it. All in favor of the motion to deny the fee waiver request signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, we need to take roll call. Thank you, Sarah.
Commissioner Lenzmeyer.
Nay.
Commissioner Bertram.
On the motion, did you say?
On the motion to deny, are you saying aye or nay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nay.
Oh,
Say,
Yeah, the motion is to deny.
Wait, are you,
And,
can you do your thumb again? Are you saying aye to the motion to deny, or are you saying nay? All right, aye.
okay. Commissioner Bertram.
Nay.
Commissioner Persky.
aye.
Commissioner Notch.
Aye.
And Commissioner Clark.
Aye.
Madam Chair, just for your information, the fee schedule, I believe, will come back in front of you next year, and we will have lots of conversation about the fees and process, and if any adjustments you want to make at that time. I'll try to have that other information available to you as well,
Thank you.
related to fee waivers that we've done within the department.
Thank you.
Can I ask just one thing, as long as you brought that up? If you could, I don't know, you obviously have done a study on fees, I've seen some of it, but
Yep.
like, what does it cost to go through like that Geronimo Energy applications versus someone wanting to build a shed, or there's got to be more involved costs on some request. That would be helpful when we set the fees, that we
Right, and
more
we did
accurately.
we modified some fees, I think it was last year.
We did modify fees. I will have a conversation with Sarah's office to have that differentiation between large projects and small projects, because we don't currently have that differentiation, but we should or could look at it a little differently. So those will be things that we will talk about for the fee study. So it's good to know that you have that
And
interest.
we did make some modifications.
And the only reason I asked that is, and I'm not doubting you, but I never heard that the actual cost is $3,000 and we're charging $850. I only like to know that because that puts it in perspective
Yeah.
for me.
I agree.
Yep.
Which is
we'll
why I
have
asked the
that.
question.
We'll
It
have
just
all
is
of that
helpful for us to
information.
know.
And I'll
Commissioner
just
Persky.
comment on that. Yeah, Shelley, I think that's a very good idea. It's somehow if we could tie it into anticipated staff hours, not necessarily the cost of the
Yes.
project, because some of these projects are cut and dry,
Yes.
even though they're very expensive projects. But if it's labor intense for staff, if somehow we could generate a formula
I
for
think
that.
what we'll do is show you how we generate the fees.
would be helpful.
We have a nice process. Jeff Swenson works with us on our fees. It'll be very helpful. I think we'll go through that with you as a
Great.
board, so you can see all of that.
Sounds good.
Since our fees are so prominent.
That sounds good.
Thank
Thank you.
The short answer is it depends.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay. Well, we're moving on. We are almost to the end. Do you want a break right now, or are you okay with
Well, I
continuing?
can't wait to hear what Melissa, so it's, I don't know.
I know, she's sitting here, she's standing, so we'll go
she's
ahead.
smiling.
We're going to take we might not even need to. Yeah, we'll take a quick break after this. Go ahead.
Okay. Good.
Morning, Commissioners, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Melissa Healy, Human Services Administrator. There are only 2 items on my consent agenda today. First item is J1 on page 89. It's just claims paid on behalf of Human Services clients, and the other is J2 on page 91. And this is the grant agreement with the Minnesota Department of Health, which is for approval. There's a little error in the top of that. It's approving the grant from October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2029. And they change the grant agreement amount every year. So we're at this time asking for the next year's grant between October and September through September 2025 to the tune of $140,883. Now I'm available for questions if you have them.
So looking for a motion to approve the grant from 2024 to
Through
2025.
29 for the 5 years,
5
but
years.
each year it changes
This
a
is
little.
a really
so.
important grant too, so
Yes.
appreciate that. Commissioner Bertram.
So move.
Great, thank you. I couldn't tell, that was
Oh,
kind of the.
no, this is just my Melissa hand.
Oh, the Melissa hand. I have to work to distinguish it between that and, yeah, that's good. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Persky. Seeing no discussion, all in favor of approving the grant signify by saying aye.
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 And then I'll also move,
Oh, wait a second.
One.
Opposed, same sign?
oh,
Okay, it's approved.
and I'll move J1, the claims.
All right.
Great.
Thank you.
Excellent. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All right, all in favor of approving the claims signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? All right, it's approved. At least
Thank
we
you.
also said aye. Thank you. Thank
All
you
right.
very much. Okay, we did that fast enough, members. Do you want to just keep going? I know we're going to have our township folks here pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
good with going.
All right, let's go ahead and go. This is actually one of the agenda items I think we tend to look forward to because we're showing us making progress.
If I could get the ability to use my computer?
For the back room, Mike wants to be able to share his screen from his computer.
They knew I was going to do this.
To my earlier point.
Yes, well, I was going to say, but they're having problems. The real question is, could we take the gamble of taking a quick break?
Or issued by Commissioner.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it is. Nope,
Oh,
we're
look at
good.
that.
Yep, thought about that too. We could have done that. But now we have a map. All right, great.
Here we are.
We have a map.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to give a quick broadband update and give, hopefully get approval to enter into agreements based on the 2 awards, grant awards that we just received. So you've all seen this map before, and all these colored in areas are areas that are now going to be covered with fiber to the premise service. The 2 grants that we just received now would make it 7 that we received. If you recall, this area off here is with Runestone, and then we've got all this area with Arvig. We've got all this area up here with Albany Telco. This is SciTech here. And then the 2 grants that we were just awarded, one is to fill in Paynesville Township here, and that is with Meeker Electric, or Vibrant is their fiber, or their broadband part of their business. And then these 2 areas here in northeast Wakefield Township, southeast Wakefield Township, and then the northeast portion of Luxembourg. Those are the 2 awards that we just received. I'll show you the dollars and cents of that in a minute. Also, Runestone made an application down here in Crow Lake Township. Crow Lake did commit some funds, and they did that independently of our program, and that was awarded this round, so that was good news. Arvig also made a grant for this area here that is that is unserved as well in Main Prairie Township. They were not awarded that. It was outside of our program. They didn't get the award. I'm assuming they'll make another application, and oftentimes the second round there can be success. So, and then the 31,000 here is maybe new information. I can't remember if we talked about this, but St. Martin Township has said that they would now enter the program if we could make something work. And that amount is just that $31,600. So I'm assuming the board would want us to focus on that area coming up, and I'll show you what dollars we have left in the program, which frankly isn't a lot. We've had a fair amount of contact from some folks in Collegeville Township. The township hasn't necessarily made any changes in their desires, but if they do, I think that would be another area that we might want to focus some time on. But I think the township, St. Martin Township, if they're in with some money, I think obviously that's been your direction so far, is that when we have township participation, that's where we would focus our efforts. So. And you can see there's very little white on this map, and it's pretty much all in townships that did not participate. There is a little section right here in Wakefield that I think is going to get covered in the future. There's maybe 20 homes in there, but I don't think there's any other gaps in any of the townships that participated, unless there's a 1 or 2 there that I'm not aware of. But we've tried to make sure that we've covered every premise. The dollars of it are here. You can see this is the whole project. You can see the total cost is this column. So we've had about $58 million in projects that are part of our program. You also have a few things. The SciTech one was federal money. The Crow Lake now didn't have any of our money in it. So the total number is probably more like 65 million that we've leveraged, maybe even more than that, in infrastructure. The providers here are at over 21 million, and the subsidy here is 36.5 million, and we've used 15.7 of our 16 million. But you know, it actually accomplished all the areas that participated. So I think we're in a place where we thought we would be in the end there. And so we do have there's a few costs that aren't included here. So I'm going to say $250,000, $260,000 that we can pursue grants. Now, there's been no announcement yet about any new rounds, unless some of you heard something recently. But I'm hearing from some of the providers that they think there's going to be another round in January of a state grant process, because they now have the approvals from the federal government to use all the, what was it, 60 million, or anyway, a pretty good chunk of money. So what I would anticipate doing, and we need to do a little more talking with the ISPs, I think, before we issue a request, but at this point, focus on St. Martin, hopefully get a request for proposals there. I'm going to have a conversation with there's probably 3 providers in that Collegeville area, and pursue that just a little bit because we have been hearing a lot from those folks too. But really the action today is just for you to authorize me to enter into those agreements with Arvig for that area in Wakefield and Luxembourg, and with Vibrant for that area in Paynesville Township. The agreements will mirror the ones that we've done in the past. It will look no different except for change the numbers in the area to be provided. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do you need actual action on the St. Martin one, or is it enough that it's fitting
know,
with what we're doing and that we all are telling you, you're getting a sense of it?
Madam Chair, I think I would just like to have a little more time to flush a few things out.
So you'll bring that back?
Yeah, I'll bring that back, and likely, it'll be simple. It'll probably be, at least I'll have an idea for numbers then before you make that decision.
And it is very great news. And looking then for a motion to give Mike the authority to enter into the contracts with both Vibrant and with Arvig.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Great.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Commissioner Bertram and Commissioner Persky.
Just want to make 2 comments. One, again, great work that obviously you guys started before I got here in getting this Stearns County covered. As you know, I was able to attend the last round 10 because Mike couldn't be there in a rural site by Annandale to receive the last grant. There was 120 million applicants made. 40 million were awarded, and we did very well, obviously, in that award in filling in these blanks. So certainly continues to be very successful. In the areas, I suggest the Mike, like Collegeville, Zion Township, Paynesville Township, those couple of residents that are in the fringe areas, I really hope, and my hope is, and Mike agrees, that we can talk to those providers, even if there isn't funding directly made available, we help them get there in the area, and if they can just do small extensions of the coverage to help those people, I don't think that's asking too much, because we certainly have awarded that. I do hope, I know that you said you were going to talk to them at one point, but some of those providers kind of announce that they're doing this broadband work, and they forget to say that we're a partner in that. They're kind of taking the credit themselves. I think every time we do that, we're doing this together. It helps show the continuity between the county and the providers. So let's continue to reinforce
Perhaps we
that.
need to put that in the contract that they have.
Madam Chair and Commissioner Bertram, it is in the agreement, but at least I was notified by Commissioner Bertram a while back that one of the providers had put out a notice, that, and they had not recognized the county's effort. And they have, I've noticed since then, they definitely have.
Good. Well, and one of the things, I couldn't be there. I was very glad, Commissioner Bertram, that you were able to. I did learn we all could come to those. So when the next time there's something to celebrate, Wright County had a pretty full commissioner contingent. We don't get to do a whole lot of those celebrating very often. I suppose it's not quite a groundbreaking, but we get to figure out ways to be celebrating with the communities and between all the work that's been done with the providers, with the townships, with the state, with the feds. It's this long-term work's been really paying off, and it's all before we even get to the BEAD money, which is really good, because that means we've gotten to get through a whole lot of, we've gotten to the front of the line, and we will have less things that we have to deal with. So it's very exciting. Well, we've got a motion and a second. See no further discussion.
I want to call the question.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. Wait, Lee, I can't see you. Can you say aye?
You can see the desk.
Ah, the desk. Wait a minute.
That's the document camera, I think.
Lee, can you hear?
Well, we can just go without the vote.
I know. I'm just going to give it a second.
Okay.
Having been on the back end of one of these, it's really, even though it's a little clunky, it's helpful to be able to weigh in. And if he comes back and he can't do it, then we're going to go ahead and move on.
There we are.
There, Lee, are you in favor? Aye. All right.
Okay.
All of us are in favor. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Mike, did you have anything else? As Commissioner Bertram had pointed out, we've got a couple other meetings today. Do you want to say something real quick about how our other community meetings are going?
I think the meetings have been going good. We're nearing the end. We had, 21 planned, and we have about 6 or 7 left. I think that participation has fallen off a little bit, which maybe is a good sign that we're getting the word out. I don't know. There is another open house tonight in Holdingford.
Right.
And then there's some of us are going to attend the Stearns Municipal League meeting as well, so we can just remind people that we've already given a presentation of the Municipal League, so just be a reminder of them. And then there's 3 again scheduled next week, I believe, and then one last one the following week at St. Cloud Library.
St. Augusta is Wednesday night.
Yes.
And maybe we could just remind people who might be listening that are looking for more information. We have a lot of information on our website, including a presentation there. If you are looking, I got contacted by somebody yesterday who was thought that the sales tax would only be in St. Cloud. And he said, no, remember, this is a countywide project. It will be countywide. So thank you. Please thank staff again. We know this has been a lot of extra work for them, but it makes a difference having the people who can answer the questions coming.
And of course, we've been using many other mediums to interact with the public
Absolutely.
too, the social medias, and there'll be a postcard going out to all residents sometime soon. We did a little video now that should go out on social media. So we've been reaching out in many, many ways, in addition to the community meetings.
Great.
Commissioner Clark had a
And
question
actually was
before.
going to, we'll start with you with issues by commissioner
Okay,
anyway, so
then
go
I'll
ahead.
come back to the, well,
No, you
fir-
can ask him if you had something else. with that.
I did, but let's go with the ballot question first, I've got a question about that too. I was just saying, I'm hearing from quite a few folks as far as what the question is or what we're actually trying to determine on the ballot.
The reminding people that we're asking them to be allowing us to use the sales tax versus property tax.
Correct, and some people are thinking that we're approving the project that
Right.
we're going to
Have
move
to
forward.
keep reminding
And
them.
that
That's
we're
so
going to
true.
use the sales tax or referendum and with the project, but that's not it, it's about the sales tax.
Exactly.
That's
So
correct,
important. We just need to keep letting people know that, reminding
And
them.
that was evident in some of our first meetings. It was almost like a light bulb went off with people. Oh, that's what you're asking. So we've tried to change the presentation a bit and our message a bit, just to strengthen that message too.
Right, very
And
good.
then back
Thank
to
you.
the
Thank you for bringing that
broadband.
up.
Mike, I just was curious, if we move this piece forward, what percentage of the county by population, not by landmass, do you think, how much will we have actually covered then with broadband, do you think?
Oh,
I mean, we can get approximate number.
I mean,
It'll be-
90%?
90? Okay.
It might actually even be higher into Commissioner Bertram's pointer question. I mean, there is the sparsity grants that are out there. There might be a way to work with some of the entities on those too.
Yeah.
I would guess that we only have 1,300 premises in the whole county that
don't have.
Wow.
that won't. I mean,
Okay.
they all, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yep.
it's all not in the ground yet, of course, but yeah.
Right, and then will some of those be able to be reached in alternative methods other than giving them cable?
I sure hope so, and I
Okay.
think so, yes. I
Right,
mean, just
because I would rather see us do that than to spend excessive amounts to get that fiber out to them.
with the network that now has been built, it should be easier to reach some.
Right, they should be able to do middle mile or something
Okay.
like that.
And then the other question is, how are we doing on implementation of these plans that we have as far as the companies of the things that we had approved within the last year? Is the cable getting into the ground? And then also, what about materials? Do we have any supply issues?
I'm not hearing any supply issues from any of our providers right now. The last grant round that we were successful in, those projects are not in the ground. They're still awaiting their environmental reviews and all of that, or at least they were a few weeks ago. The projects before that, the other 3 projects before that, those have actually been under construction, so. And even these that we just approved today, those need to be complete by the end of 2026.
Okay.
And we need to spend our money before then, or commit our money before then, but they actually have to be in the ground before the end of 26.
Well, and as these are getting completed, if you don't mind, if they're letting you know, if you don't mind letting us know, we might want to be letting residents know through social media or other things so they can start seeing that progress.
Yeah, we try to communicate with the providers once in a while and ask them what their schedules are, and then we've been putting that on our website.
Great.
But yeah, I can get a report to you as well.
Great.
And finally, Mike, your efforts are greatly appreciated. Wow. I mean, we're ahead of so many,
Oh, yeah.
so many counties and ahead of the country as well. So I appreciate your efforts.
Absolutely.
I think we all do.
All right. Any issues by commissioner for you, or is that it?
That's it.
All right. Steve.
Hey, okay, and thanks, Madam Chair, and thanks, Mike, for your work on this. An interesting thing that once these projects are completed is to find out what their take rates are for the
Yes.
service. That would be interesting to find out from all these providers. You know, are they in the 50%,
Yep.
75, 100%? You know, because obviously they can be to your home, but you don't have to take it.
Yeah, and they don't, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
Mr. Commissioner Notch, they don't plan on 100%.
Right.
You know, sometimes they're thinking 50, sometimes they use 60, 65, kind of at the most, but it will be interesting to see what their actual take rate is.
Great.
Oh, and then lastly, I did attend the Minnesota Rural Counties meeting on October 7th. So currently now they're up to 44 counties plus 4 more that are interested in joining. So that group has really kind of taken off, which I guess is good to a point. They did elect new officers. So the chair this year is Neil Peterson from Pennington County. The vice chair is Steve Schmitz from Meeker. And then Sharon Bring was the secretary treasurer from Marshall. So she's secretary treasurer again. And we went through the priorities. So they kind of mirror AMC a little bit. Solid waste was the first one with the waste energy issues going on, landfilling, and then infrastructure, roads, bridges, and then out-of-county placements because a lot of these small counties, if they have one, it almost is a fifth of their budget.
Yeah, I would say that those particular things, for the most part, are things that AMC staff will be working on. So I will be interested to see what Capitol Hill says about that, because that's too broad for them, given the capacity to really, this is well past drainage ditches or.
Yeah. Which they had, drainage actually came in fourth, but, and the other interesting thing, when we talk about broadband, how successful we are, there's a couple of counties that wanted broadband up on the top, just because they are more rural than we are, and they didn't probably have the foresight to say, hey, let's dedicate some funds and get others, to commit. Yeah. So yeah, there's a few of them in Minnesota that are really struggling.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I had for now.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. Lee, do you have any issues by commissioner? Oops, you're muted. It looks like no, but we'll go to Jeff. Why don't we go to you? And if you have something, if you have a mic back, we'll do that.
Madam Chair, just to understand Commissioner Notch's question, you're asking what the rates, like what they charge the homeowner? Is that what you're asking? Oh,
No, Commissioner Bertram, Commissioner Notch is questioning how many people are going to take the new service
Like
when it
subscribe.
becomes available.
to add to that,
They won't get 100%.
to add to that though, I'd like to see the rates. I mean, just out
yeah.
of curiosity,
Oh, yeah.
what do they charge? What are the different providers charging for? Obviously, everybody's got their own plan, but they'd be similar. I'd be curious to see that too, because we've given the road to drive on. Hopefully, they're not taking advantage of it.
And hopefully with that, I mean, we are requiring a low-cost, high-speed plan as part of that. Maybe we can get some information, like there's more than one kind of plan in there.
Yeah.
That's great.
And then work on those pockets like we're going to be doing that aren't covered. Couple things. One, with the broadband announcement of us receiving that funds, that was good. Highway 23 ribbon cutting, 3 of us were able to be there. I'd say about 100 people. I guess I didn't count, but 2 United States senators, a state representative. I think it was extremely well received by everyone, so that's good. And then yesterday, 3 of us attended the AMC district meeting, which is a lot of folks, again, may or may not know, we do get together as commissioners and districts in the state. The annual meeting's coming up. That's very helpful to kind of build relationships and get a lot of information. So all good stuff.
I'm sure county reports were pretty exciting.
They
I
were.
know that's Mike's favorite part.
Yeah, they went out of their way to, Ryan said that he thought you were going to be having Jill do it, so.
That just might be true.
And we did hear about Jill too, so yeah. Ours was really very fun, so just kidding.
Madam Chair, I do agree ours was outstanding, but to hear the redundancy from all the other counties was a bit much. Sometimes it's like
It was, which,
at the dentist without Novocaine.
which is part of Dr. Williams, part of Mike's point with this is couldn't we just get that in a different way? Yes,
Did they include their levy
They did.
preliminaries? Or any of them,
they're kind of all over the place.
were they? Okay.
Way high and way low, some
Yeah.
extremely low.
Yeah.
Yeah, from
We're still on the lower end, and obviously we'd like it to be lower, but given everything else, it's
Yeah. I know Minnesota rural counties too, we're on the low end. There's some that are
very high.
pretty high.
Yeah. So
Do you have a list?
with that, I would say that our priorities were, in line with others, things that we continue to work on, including mental health. They did have mental health both under the human service and the public safety side, and I told Matt Hilgard that that was like cheating, and so I marked both of them because it's true in both. But the technology, making sure the unfunded mandates, the transportation. Jody, we did bring up wetland replacement on purpose. So it was good. It's a good time to get to hear about some of the other things. But yes, there's probably some other ways to do that.
And just in response to that, it reminded me that we are working on our own legislative priorities right now. Hopefully, I can get those in front of the board even as soon as next meeting.
Good.
If
Then we
not
could
by
get
then, it'll
together
be
with
the
the
next
people
meeting.
after the election.
Yeah.
So we can get on the front end. One of the things that is really getting, there's been some good efforts, and our staff has done a really good job with helping communicate with us, but that modernization and technology issues with both Maxis, which for our residents, green screens, like think back to the 80s, maybe early 90s, and then SSIS, social services, where it takes like 800 clicks to get one person in. It means that you can't really do the services, and it is not meeting people where they're at. So one of the efforts is having some demonstrations for legislators to help them better understand so they can be better advocates too. So that's something for us to consider as well. And with that, because we've got some other folks waiting for us, thank you for the meeting. We are adjourned.
Your talking still works fine.